Hello and welcome to New Frontiers on CCTV International. I'm Ji Xiaojun in Beijing. Well, I guess it'll be a long time before any of us forget the opening ceremony of the 2008 Beijing Olympics. To me, one of the most striking images was the dreamlike painting scrolls from the Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties. I suppose one way of summing up the overall performance is as a powerful evocation of the culture, virtue, and social etiquette of ancient China. I can't help thinking in particular about how the performers struck the 2008 fo, or drums, and chanted lines from the Analects of Confucius. In actual fact, striking a fo was a ceremonial rite in ancient China for welcoming guests dating back 3,000 years. Well, in today's program, we are continuing our major exploration of Chinese civilization, and this time focusing on the culture of Li and Yue.
Unlike other parts of the world where the rise of bronze culture can be seen in the development of weapons and tools for practical use, the bronze culture of ancient China was centered on religious activities. In their governing of the country, and for that purpose, the rulers of the Western Zhou dynasty during the 11th century BC devised rigid rules about the use of these ritual bronze objects. In the process, two abstract concepts emerged, Li and Yue. While Li translates into English as behavior code and social etiquette, the term Li implied much more than this phrase suggests, and Yue, which translates as music, covered a wider range than suggested by the word music. The strong belief in Li and Yue distinguished ancient Chinese civilization from any other in the world, and the social norms and protocols that were born out of them were passed down through history to be followed by later generations, even to the present day. More than 2,000 years ago, some Han Dynasty scholars said, China is a nation of virtues and social etiquette. To some extent, the concept of Li covers every aspect of Chinese society, including politics, history, and culture, and there is no equivalent term in any Western language.
"中国是礼乐之国啊，礼仪之邦，可以说是从中国文明开始萌芽形成的时候起，就带有这种以礼乐制度作为它特色的这样一种现象啊。中国人所讲的礼仪，实际上呢是非常之广泛，它体现了社会的结构和社会的种种特点，也体现了社会的统一性和普遍性。那么在这些方面说起来的话呢，和其他的国家呢，确实有些很大的不同。我们中国所谓的礼仪是吧，和外国的一般的讲的这个形式的一些个礼仪，其实意义也不完全相同。
When did the Chinese belief in Li and Yue begin? To trace the beginnings, we have to go back more than 4,000 years to the era of Yao and Shun, two rulers in ancient antiquity. In Xiangfen County, Shanxi Province, can be seen the remains of Taosi Temple. Here, 4,600 years ago, a culture was born, and it flourished for around 500 years at the same time as Longshan culture further down the Yellow River in present-day Shandong province. More than 1,300 tombs were found here, but only a few dozen contained large amounts of precious burial items. This tells us that during the era in which these people lived, the society was divided into social classes in which distinctions between rich and poor were clearly delineated. These color pottery objects found among the Taosi relics marked the social status of their owners. Also excavated were many jade objects for religious use, and they're very similar to those from the Liangzhu culture of 5,000 years ago.
有的墓葬里，除了刚才我们说到了有些礼乐性质的这个器物，你比方说它有这个古书叫土鼓啊，土鼓就是用陶制成的一种鼓，是吧？它那鼓呢很高，是个柱形的，是吧？上面用鹅鱼皮这个就短吻鹅啊，就是一种这个鹅鱼皮上蒙面这样的一种乐器。这种乐器你可以看到，它一定有一定的礼仪的性质。是吧？你比方说他出的这个陶盘中间的这个大家都看得非常有名的，它中间画了一条盘龙，是吧？那么龙这种这个动物，它本身并不是自然界存在的，是吧？它是呢当时的人的一种信仰神话的一种聚集物，带有很重要的这个信仰的意义。所以这些方面我们都看到，这个礼仪的发展在当时不但是萌芽，而且已经到了一定的这个高度了那么一直为这个商周时期的高度发展的礼仪制度呢打下一个很好的基础。
Cultural features of the Yellow River and Yangtze River areas can be seen in the Taosi relics. Among them are sets of large objects for use at funeral and religious ceremonies. The tuo drum and stone qing, both of which are musical percussion instruments, were once hung up in a hall. Like ceremonial wine and food containers, they were used only at worship ceremonies. As was the case with worship ceremonies in ancient China, there were strict rules for the use of Li and Yue objects.
China, as you know, has numerous sites of historical and cultural interest scattered across its territory. Many of them are associated with ancient religious practices.
In October 2000, archaeologists made their way to the site of the Changzi Shan relics in Chefeng in Mongolia. To contemporary people, this large site with its many stone and earthen enclosures seems quite eerie. Astonishingly, in the ancient past, the central area of this site covered 6,600 square meters. At first, experts felt that the site may have been built for military defense purposes. But if so, who had built it and from whom were they defending themselves? Perhaps some large-scale war had taken place here. Further investigation of the site revealed that the enclosures, which contain only piles of rocks, had not been built for people to live in. Had this place, called by the locals the Ancient Castle, been a place of worship for some ancient kingdom in China's north? From the ground and without the aid of explanations from the local people, the site seems to consist of nothing more than piles of rocks. However, a view from the air reveals something else entirely. The rocks form a huge pattern comprising several hundred geometric shapes. This site is, in fact, the largest of all religious sites thus far found in China. Although it is just one of 10 similar sites found in Changzeshan, this one has the most altars. This religious site was in use some 4,000 years ago, about the same time as the Xia dynasty. During the Shang and Zhou dynasties that followed the Xia, humanistic thinking began to appear, and the concepts of Li and Yue began to govern political and social behavior. When King Wu of Zhou, a ruler in China's west, engaged in a punitive expedition against King Zhou of the Shang dynasty, he proclaimed 3 charges against the latter: disregard of the codes of behavior instituted by the ancestors, disrespect of heaven and the gods, and cruelty to the people. All 3 charges made against King Zhou of Shang represent transgressions against the concepts of Li and Yue.
在武王克上之前，这个周跟殷商的这个国力的差别是非常大的啊。那么这商呢是地处中原腹地，一个相当发达的青铜文明啊。所以周人在他这个胜利之后，甚至还说他自己是小邦周，这个商朝是大邦殷。他这个经济上他非常发达。 可是他在精神领域里面，他一片空白，啊。那么我们从甲骨里可以知道，他是不问苍生问鬼神，什么事情都要占卜。这个物质文化的发达，如果没有人文精神的引领，最后这个社会要走向灭亡。
The punitive expedition authorized by King Wu received considerable support from many of the local rulers. Holding high the banner of respecting heaven and protecting the populace, King Wu's army set off from the capital of Gaojin and quickly pushed forward to the Shang capital. One of the significant academic results of the early 21st century was the establishment of the exact year of King Wu's punitive expedition. Fortunately, the year was included in an inscription on a huge bronze drum that had been specially made to commemorate the success of the mission. After the area was rid of the old ruler, in the new and relatively united country, the people began leading a happy life, while the notion of respecting heaven and the ancestors and protecting the populace took root in the way the nation was governed.
你比方说，他在里面提到，物与水见，当与民见。 就是你这个执政的这个贵族，你不要拿这个水当镜子，大家知道这个鉴嘛，对吧？以史为鉴，以铜为鉴，你要拿老百姓当鉴子，以民为鉴，这就是以民为本啊。另外说，天视，这电视的事，天视治我民视，老天他看到什么，就是我们人民看到什么，老天就看到什么，天听治我民听。 这样一种精神在2000多年前这个中国出现，我觉得非常伟大。因为在这个时候，在古希腊还处在神话时代。
The question became how to go about effectively governing a state that was much larger than theirs had been, much larger even than the old state of Shang they had overthrown. The rulers of the Western Zhou dynasty came up with an ingenious idea, establishing a system of fiefdoms. In the early years of the Western Zhou dynasty, the ruler created more than 70 fief states, 50 of which were ruled by people who had Ji as their surname, all from his own clan. It marked, in fact, the birth of a nation made up of various ethnic groups, in which the Cathay people formed the majority. But with so many fief states, some of them quite distant, how could the country be properly developed? The younger brother of King Wu, Lord Dan of Zhou, came up with a set of rules to cover almost every aspect of the nation: social, religious, political, and economic.
周公是我们历史上一个非常杰出的政治家，啊，那么他在这个武王克商之后就总结，啊，这个殷人亡国的教训，就他这个车怎么翻了，他前车之鉴是什么？啊，那么他经过总结呢，就发现主要的、根本的原因，就是他们呢，失德。那么失德就失人心，失人心就亡天下。所以他后来周公就要制定一系列以道德作为核心的这个制度。那么我们历史上把这样一套制度，啊，叫做治理作乐。
Lord Zhou formulated a set of codes for the people to follow. The idea was that based on them, the country could be governed more effectively. These codes have been known ever since as the system of Li and Yue. But what precise aspects of social life did Li and Yue cover?
The code built around Li and Yue was developed to the point where it could be seen in every activity engaged in by the people, whether it be funerals, burials, social activities, wars, or celebrations. The nature of this Li and Yue system meant that it reminded people that they belonged to a particular social stratum and that they had a code to live by.
"那么这个道德呢，一般来说，它是一个很抽象的，啊，看不见摸不着的东西。可是我们这个前辈很聪明，他把这个德这个东西，他分解成了很多个德目，每一个德目都是可以操作的，啊，比方诚信啊，啊，孝顺啊，啊，那么你在实践这个礼的过程当中，你就一步一步的，啊，成为了一个理性的人，从行为上、言谈举止上来规范你。所以这个礼啊，它是修身的，是吧？比方见到老年人应该怎么样，见到长辈应该怎么样，是吧？见到老师应该怎么样，然后在人家家里出现不幸的事情，比方丧礼，你应该怎么样，啊？那么使你呢，这个始终能够想到，啊，自己的行为应该是理性的。
After the Shang dynasty fell to the Zhou dynasty, the new dynasty had two small states on its borders, one named Yu, the other Rui. The land between these two small states was very fertile, and they had long been locked in a battle over ownership of this tract of land, resulting, of course, in a massive waste of manpower and resources. One day, the rulers of both states came to the capital of Zhou in the hope of settling the dispute by getting a judgment from King Wen, the ruler of Zhou.
"结果没想到，他们进入到文王的那个国界里面之后，啊，看到了一幅让他们非常感慨的景象，啊，就在街上，啊，人们都互相礼让，彬彬有礼。到了朝廷里面，这个大臣之间，啊，都非常融洽，啊，那么这个虞和芮两国的国君呢，他们当时看了以后就非常惭愧。啊，说我们在那里吵来吵去要争抢的东西，恰恰人家认为是可耻的东西，啊，我们赶紧不要去找文王了，啊，这丢人了，啊，我们还是回去自己解决吧，啊，结果他们回去以后，啊，就互谅互让，把这个问题呢化解。
To distinguish the difference between the various classes, different sets of bronze objects were used at banquets, celebrations, and at worship and funeral ceremonies. In any bronze set used for these purposes, the numbers of ding, a vessel for containing meat, and gui, a container for foods other than meat, were rigidly set according to class, and they were never to be confused. This rule about the numbers of vessels lay at the core of the rituals of the Western Zhou dynasty. In accordance with the book Rituals of the Zhou dynasty, the king was to use 9 ding and 8 gui, dukes and princes 5 ding and 4 gui, ministers 5 ding and 4 gui, and scholars 3 ding and 2 gui.
这个礼乐制度很重要的一点，它是要体现社会的层次的结构，是吧？你比方说啊，我们说的这个，你比方说现在大家都说列鼎，是吧？说是这个用鼎的时候，这鼎本来就是一个吃饭的工具，是吧？特别是一种烹煮的一种器物，是吧？拿它炖肉、煮肉，是吧？那么这样的器物呢，可是你比方说天子就要用9鼎啊，甚至加上3个陪鼎，所谓天子要用12鼎，是吧？那么天子为什么要用12鼎呢？是吧？他是不是能吃那么多？他也吃不了那么多，是吧？他是表现的他这个社会地位。
It was not only the number of ding that marked the status of the owner, it was also the size. Through the bronze objects he used, an owner's social status, obligation and rights were clearly defined in an unequal society. But how was harmony and peace to be maintained in such an unequal society? The answer was through music. The rulers of this age believed that the function of music was to educate people. If the ruler and his subjects could sit down inside a temple to enjoy music together, the result would be a harmonious relationship between all of them. If a father and sons did the same at home, the family would be a good one. If all the members of a clan were willing to gather inside their village to listen to music, there would be no disputes. The music used in temples later gave rise to palace music, which was, of course, enjoyed by the ruler and his nobles only. Confucius, who was of a later generation, came to regard Zhou palace music as something that had come from heaven. On one occasion after listening to it, he said that one could forget the taste of the most delicious meat. In effect, Zhou dynasty rulers aimed to use music concerts to maintain social order through arousing in everyone feelings of harmony, peace and love.
"我们东方文化跟西方文化有一个根本的区别，就西方文化是宗教文化，就人的灵魂要上帝来管，所以每天要祈祷要做礼拜要忏悔甚至要用基督的血来洗刷自己的灵魂，才能得到拯救，因为在西方理论里面，人生下来是恶的。可是，在我们东方文化不然，我们不是一个宗教文化，我们的灵魂要靠自己来管，而且把它管好。那怎么管？就是靠道德来管。
In 1976, a large trove of bronze wares was discovered in Zhouyuan in Shanxi province. The objects themselves and the inscriptions on them indicate just how sophisticated the system of Li and Yue was at the time of the Zhou dynasty. Well, we'll find out more about this important discovery and its significance in our next program. And thank you for staying with us on New Frontiers. Tune in again next time when we'll bring you more about the roots of China's Li and Yue belief. I'm Ji Xiaojun from CCTV International. Bye for now.